News.
And I'm Randy from the Stream Review.
And as much as I can't hear you guys over the static, I'm Tom Combetti. As always.
And you'll notice two things this week that are missing on the show. Number one is Jim DeBruzzo, who is at a Mike Patton reunion concert.
And the other is content, which we don't have this week for the 50th weekend.
Oh, shoot, that would make three then.
Oh, my fault.
The other thing is the absence of what we promised last week, that being Heavy Metal T-shirt week. That has been postponed probably till next week because we were bombarded. Yeah, we were bombarded with emails from a lot of our viewers who said that they too wanted to partake in Heavy Metal T-shirt week and needed to go to eBay or somewhere to buy some.
But one of the emails I did get was can you wear an NSYNC shirt? Which I think that the whole idea of hair metal or heavy metal was just completely misused. Or at least, it's completely lost its meaning here in the 90s or whatever decade this is.
Let's not gloss over that it is long T-shirt week.
It is.
So long.
That's because it's cold out.
Oh, I tried.
Well, we don't have that much to talk about this week, so I'd come back like every other segment and just see what we're doing. But we have some details from Raw this past week and SmackDown. And we are going to be talking about how the WWF will soon be becoming a lot more like the NFL. And no, the XFL is not coming back.
Why do you do that to me? My
I'm
hopes
sorry.
were and now they're here.
Yeah, but we'll get into that later. I don't know. Can you think of anything else?
No, we have rants.
Oh, yeah.
How can you forget those? That's the bread and butter of this show. What do you have to say? Anything?
Well, I was thinking maybe a Foxy boxing segment, mid-show, but I've been overruled. So we have a picture of The Rock, and we may just talk about that for 7 straight minutes. So it'll be interesting to say the least.
I think so. I'm excited about tonight's show.
All right, we may as well do the other 6 segments then.
Okay.
Well, we're going to come back, and we're going to just jump right into this, so please return. We're going to talk a little bit about the goings-on from the WWF, the only promotion in the world right now, this past week. And for all the good things we said about them last week, we take it all back. Took them all that long to screw it up. So I guess topping that all off is the inexplicable heel turn of The Undertaker, which if anybody at home watching didn't see that one coming, please turn off the television and go watch something else.
Oh, okay. I'm leaving. No,
make room.
I don't know necessarily if I would call it inexplicable because I think his character as a face was kind of becoming tiresome, just teaming with Kane and all that.
Yeah.
He really wasn't doing anything, but it was kind of the reasoning behind it. They're really getting lax on, well, why did you turn? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for Undertaker to come out on SmackDown. I don't know what I did. I don't know why I did it.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the reason he gave. And just to get this off my chest, I'm so tired of everybody beating up on Jim Ross to become a heel. Can't they do anything to anyone else? Is everybody so high and mighty that they can't be beaten down? Why does he have to be the Dusty Rhodes of the WWF?
And it's always in his hometown, the poor guy.
Yeah, and that, as soon as Ross got in the ring, I'm like, well, and then I saw the Undertaker come down, I'm like, getting his ass kicked
Well,
by someone.
Getting back to the cool Taker turn, if you want to dub it, whatever you want to dub it, I'm convinced the only reason they turned him heel was so at the upcoming pay-per-view when he wrestles Van Dam, he can get a clean win over Van Dam. Then they'll turn him back face. in WWF-esque fashion, I mean, they've just done this. I think you brought it up. The sake of a turn for a turn is not worth it. When I saw it on Monday, I was actually a little bit interested in it, but then, with no explanation, no anything, I want respect, but yet I just still want to be one of your stooges, whatever the hell you want to call it. It's stupid.
Yeah, I think that was more of my problem with it being inexplicable. It wasn't so much that maybe Undertaker didn't need a fresh start again, but it was that it seemed like last week the WWF had done everything right. The fans had wanted to cheer Steve Austin for how long now, and so now they can do that again. And, they wanted Ric Flair back, and they brought him back, and they wanted Jerry Lawler back, and they brought him back. And it was like they were making the changes to make the fans happy, giving them what they want, because sometimes you have to do that when your ratings are dropping so dramatically. But it's like, why turn The Undertaker? He's one of those guys where people love him no matter what. And I don't think this heel turn is going to work. I think it's going to be a lot like Sting's, where people still want to kind of cheer him. I mean, you look at SmackDown this last Thursday night when he fought Taz. The building was silent because they don't want to boo him.
That's a good point, but let's also look at the guy he wrestled, Taz. I mean, that's probably one of the worst first opponents you could have for somebody like The Undertaker who just turned heel. Where's Taz? What measuring stick? And there's no pun intended
Yeah,
there.
really.
But what measuring stick is he to gauge the Undertaker's heel turn?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
Taz is
Yeah.
a heel. Well, Taz isn't a heel. He's not a face.
But
he's nothing.
He does do commentary on the upcoming WWF SmackDown game, which is right behind us. I'd like to add.
By
But
the
you
way,
understand what
yeah,
I mean,
good.
though. That's the point I'm trying to make, is that you have to put the Undertaker in there with someone who is a definitive
Right,
face
right.
to make him a heel. It doesn't work when he cuts promos.
And that's part of the problem, though.
Right. Exactly.
Did he give the fans a reason to hate him? No.
No, of course.
He beat up Jim Ross, but
Who cares?
that's the point.
Whatever you want to call him, Paul Levesque broke his arm.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I think more people cheered at that than the fact that they booed.
Well, another thing other than just putting him in there with the right people, the other thing they're going to have to do is, and it's the thing that they never do anymore, is they've got to radically change him. I hate Limp Bizkit more than I could ever tell you, but the reason he gets cheered like he does, one of the reasons, is because of his theme music, because it's music that gets people excited, and they've got to change that. He cannot keep using that music now. If you want to let him ride to the ring on a bike, that's fine, but you have got to start making changes in his character. I made this example a few months ago. I don't remember who turned. I think it was Christian when Tatanka turned. And it was like, he was this Native American wrestler, and then he walked out the next week where he was supposed to be a heel, and he looked the same, he acted the same, the music was the same.
Not really. He had that laugh to it at the beginning.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry.
The Ted DiBiase laugh.
I take it all back.
Well, after Tatanka left the WWF, and I don't know why we're going to talk about Tatanka, but you brought it
More
up.
interesting.
So,
My fault.
unfortunately.
Speaking of which, he was in talks with the WWF last week, rumored. Wasn't he?
God, I hope not.
Well, I'm just making stuff up.
when
now.
Tatanka left the WWF,
That's what I
after-
heard.
Then he came back. He actually did change his look because he wore really big, huge T-shirts. He got really fat.
That's right.
So there you go.
That's right.
6 years after the fact,
There you go.
there's been a change made. But
Well, he also caused Jake Roberts to have his first heart attack on the free-for-all many, many years ago when Jake forgot to get the snake out of the bag and just rolled out of the ring and passed out for the first consecutive time. But
oh boy,
why we bring up Jake the Snake and Tatanka? We do care. We don't care about the current direction of WWF now. We want to see the old stuff. I want to see Nikolai Volkov come back sleeping in a garbage pile with Ludwig Borga telling him how bad he is.
wearing that same maroon suit he always wears.
Or how about the
When
little
he got
black
from-
shirt with the scent symbol on it? That was kind of cool.
When he used to beat up the 1-2-3 Kid all the time.
Yeah.
But anyway, more on the Undertaker.
Yeah.
No, to draw on a point that Tom made earlier is the fact that I just think that coming off of Flair's return and Lawler's return, they just had this pressure to deliver something else that was big, and I think
Yeah.
that's why they really did that with the Undertaker. Not to say that his turn can't be positive or that it wasn't warranted because his character has been stale, but I just think it was just the sake of a turn for a turn.
Yeah, and it was as obvious as you could ever possibly make it, and I don't know.
When you say about turning the Undertaker for something big, as I brought up, a turn for a turn, why not have a good match, or a couple good matches, or better yet, bring a tree shredder in, put a mop in it, let a lot of TV. Oh wait, that already happened.
Yeah.
Probably one of the worst things I've ever seen on live TV.
Well, the great thing about it is that the promoter, Vince McMahon, can blame the tree shredder. It's not Raven's fault. It's not the mop's fault. It's not Saturn's
If you
fault.
you can at least blame a bird. A bird is a living thing. But when Raven puts the mop in the tree shredder and goes like this, something's wrong.
Well, here's the thing. Why not tape it?
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
Why not just, I don't know.
Well,
I have
you
nothing
I can't
else
believe
to
I'm
add.
defending the tree shredder angle, but there it was.
Yeah, just to jump back to another thing, actually, I think Rennie made this point on the website earlier this week, was that another possibly bad point to this whole Undertaker heel turn is the natural Undertaker-Steve Austin world title feud, which nobody wants to see. I don't even think Austin and Undertaker really want to see it. And they should do everything they possibly can to prevent this from happening.
Well, one of the points that I made up in a column that I posted on the website was the fact that these two have been feuding on and off for 4 years. And it's not like a Ricky Steamboat Ric Flair match where
You want to see it?
exactly. So we're black and white, and we can talk about more of the Undertaker and how bad he and Steve Austin suck when we come back. So stay tuned. Or break. Steve Austin and Undertaker don't suck so much individually as when they come together. That's when the sucking starts.
Yes, it's the story in and of
I
itself.
wanted to make sure that I wasn't misquoted on that. As if anyone out there cares anyway.
Yeah.
But people on the show care anyway.
Well,
You can literally see that.
I appreciate that.
You're
But,
welcome.
we're going to talk a little bit about the pay-per-view Vengeance coming up December 9th, which is next week.
A week from tomorrow.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The main event, obviously The Rock against Chris Jericho for the title. And Steve Austin versus, oh my God, Kurt Angle, that's right, for the WWF title. And the winners of those two matches will face off to crown
So
our
Rock versus
undisputed
Austin.
champion. Well, that's a point. That's something that we can debate because it's one of those things where if it's going to be Austin versus The Rock, you should have just left it alone.
Yep, I agree.
But I can foreseeably see this being The Rock versus Chris Jericho.
That's
well,
the
you already
first
got
round
that,
match.
pal.
Oh, I mean, thank you.
I know what you're saying.
Steve Austin versus
Jericho
Chris
and-
Jericho.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, that'll happen.
Well, it should.
It should.
Yeah,
I
it
agree. It
should.
should. Or even in that. Oh, never mind. Angle would have to wrestle The Rock then, and nobody wants to see that, even though it probably would be a good match. The point is, they got behind Jericho's heel turn. And I think you brought this up maybe on the website. Somebody brought it up. Maybe it was Jim. That's why he's not on the show this week, because he had a really good
He's
point. And he
basking
threw
in
him
the
off.
glow.
Yeah.
But the fact that Chris Jericho, the WWF's new probably #1 heel, is outshined or outdone by the Undertaker turn. I was going to say the American Badass turn, but nobody wants to see a
Well,
badass.
now he's the American suck ass, so we'll have to bring all the shirts
the
back.
point is, Jericho should have been their #1 heel, and now apparently the Undertaker is going to feud with the top guys and this and that and the other thing.
Yet another problem with the Undertaker heel turn.
They should just take 2 months off, regroup, and just come up with something even that's worse than what they have now, which would be really nice. But
Well, you actually, yeah, your name's Tom.
Hello.
It's called you Jim.
Well, I just said The Rock was going to fight The Rock.
Yeah, it's true. You did mention, Tom, before we went on the air about doing the Patrick Duffy finish, which is,
that would just be absolutely wonderful.
for anyone who watched Dallas back in the 80s.
Isn't that in Torch's handbook, the Patrick Duffy finish?
Yes.
No, that's
Yeah.
a Pro Wrestling Review exclusive.
Yeah, I think
That's
that'll
true.
be the insider term next week. But the Patrick, that wasn't an insult, I'm being serious. The Patrick Duffy finish, just my train of thought.
He was
gone.
shot and killed a couple
That's right.
episodes to the whatever season it was, like 7th season. So another producer came in, took over writing. It was completely awful. So when the original producer came back after much hoopla, it was, well, how can I go back and how can I explain? Because he was the biggest draw of the show. And I don't know why we're talking about Patrick Duffy.
Actually,
but it is a good
Patrick
point.
Duffy had contract problems.
Oh
Yeah,
my God!
whatever
we're
the hell
going
it
this
was.
far with it.
I think my microphone just fell off. I'm not really sure. But anyway, Patrick Duffy, they needed a reason to explain how he could come back to get the show's ratings boosted. Well, the whole past 6 months or last season was just a dream. Why not have it for the WWF? As mercifully bad as it's been the past 4 months, or as long as you want to count it, why not just have, hey, the McMahons are the center of the attention anyway. Vince dreamt it all up.
Yeah, I got a great idea. Vince could be walking into the shower and Heyman could be standing there, without his hat on and all his fat glory.
Oh, that
That'd be
wasn't my
tremendous.
ass on Raw this past Monday. That was someone else's.
That would be great. Seriously, if Rock came on the air, well, let's wait till January 7th where they do the little split and he just wakes up and it's all a dream. I would be screaming and yelling from my chair.
Another thing I'd like to bring to the attention of the viewers about the draft, but I think we're saving that for one of the segments we don't have anything to talk about. So
But
Take your pick.
we will get to the draft, or I guess that's what it's going to be called, a little bit later in the show. But notwithstanding obvious Rock versus Austin in the finals, if that's what happens, is there any prestige left in this particular match? With because considering that you're going to unify two of the biggest titles ever,
Yeah.
is there anything left? Is there any selling points left that you think?
I don't think so.
Even though this should be the biggest thing in the
Sure.
world.
I don't think it. Well, yeah, but they're not treating it like it. I don't think it is to your fans who will flip back and forth between Monday Night Football and well, actually that's me. But your hardcore fans, I think, will watch it because they understand what it's about. Even though the WWF has kind of crapped away the whole meaning of the WCW title.
in their own, for that matter.
Yeah, pretty much. It does sort of in a way because it's the only belt the WWF title is the only belt that company hasn't just completely crapped away, and they almost did when Vince Russo was there. But that belt's pretty consistent. It's not like half the rosters had it, you know what I mean? And so I think that you're getting it down to these four guys and you're going to whittle it down to one champion. That in itself is a pretty big deal, but I think the whole concept is just lost.
Here's my big beef of it. You said that they're treating it like a non-issue, which I totally agree in. Here's the thing. When the WWF bought WCW back in April or March, whenever it was, they have video rights to air different
Exactly.
from WCW. Why not, like when I was a big fan of this when Edge got the titles unified at this last pay-per-view, why not show a history of the U.S. title
Exactly.
and a history of the Intercontinental title? It might make it seem a little more important.
That's a really good idea, but I'll tell you exactly why the WWF doesn't do things like that. It's because they think their viewers are so fickle that they're not going to care and they don't remember things like that. And it's a stupid reason, granted, but that's the way they think. That's nobody's going to take the time to watch, clips of like Wahoo McDaniel, Magnum TA, and things like that.
Don't you joke about that.
No, I'm not joking about it at all. But I'm saying is the way the fans are today, if someone's not getting cut open with a blood knife, or Vince McMahon isn't showing his 60-year-old bare ass on TV, people don't care. They don't care about lineage. They don't care about credibility. It's not about that anymore.
I totally agree, but for the fans out there who have stuck with the WWE for the longest time, give us something to look forward to. For the casual fan,
they're not looking for us though.
But anymore. Here's the thing. That's why you separate Raw. You have a segment like that. Then the next segment, you have Phineas Godwin being sacrificed to a higher power. You have different things to cater to different viewers. Where, like Vince McMahon parading around the ring with his bare ass, that can appeal to everybody for some strange reason. I just said that. But the thing is, it's funny. That can appeal to the casual fan and the fan who knows Vince McMahon's a complete ass, no pun intended. The thing is, you show stuff like that for us. Who cares somebody watching Wolf Lake just happened to tune into Raw?
I've got a solution for you then, because I think this would be a good way to do it, where it would get the point across about what these belts mean and what this match means, and at the same time it wouldn't bore people to death. I think it was maybe 3-4 years ago on Raw, they were doing like the best, no, it wasn't, yeah, it was Raw, but they did the greatest MSG moments of all time, and they would show you a couple seconds of something from Madison Square Garden. Why can't you do the same thing on Raw and SmackDown? You can do the, greatest moments in the history of the WCW title and the WWF title. As you're coming back from a break, you could have a clip of, Randy Savage beating, or Hulk Hogan beating Randy Savage at WrestleMania 5. You could have, Ric Flair beating Dusty Rhodes in the cage. You can have that, and you can just keep showing those clips of, what has happened in the past of this belt. And they've been using this Creed song for some ungodly reason to put these video clips together. Why can't you just do that at the end of a show, a video clip with that song of just splicing all this footage together to show people what these belts have meant over the years?
It seems simple to us, but for some reason WWF still hasn't picked up on it. And you bring up Flair's name as we go to break. There's another guy, have him cut a promo before the match, the final match of the pay-per-view with both titles, saying he was in the WWF, he won the title twice.
Yeah, he held both belts.
Have him talk about both. He is credibility when it comes to titles.
Absolutely.
We're going to come back and we're going to talk more wrestling, so stay with us.
And this is Diamond Lee, and you're watching Top Rank Wrestling, so don't go anywhere.
What's up with that, yo? Oh, man. We were talking last segment about just various items, and we actually had a good discussion towards the end of the segment. We always have the best discussions when we go black and white, but I want to bring up something from last segment about the casual WWF fan maybe not knowing about past WWF or, God forbid, WCW, NWA history. During Invasion, when they showed different clips, which is a great idea of just past, I believe they showed I'm sorry, McMahon mentioned names when he was briefing the WWF guys before their tag match. He brought up Dr. Jerry Graham, which got no response whatsoever. I can understand why. Andre the Giant, which got a huge response. Yeah. And who else did he bring up? There was one other name, Gorilla Monsoon.
Yeah.
The casual fan, I'll go out on a limb here. They do know a little bit about WWF history. You're not going to turn them off if you show clips of people they know from the past. Now, if you show Wahoo McDaniel or something, as much as I'd like to see something like that, Magnum TA, the casual fan is not going to know who that is. You show guys like Ricky Steamboat and just go out on a limb and hope they know who it is. And if not, oh well, we're happy because we get to see something we normally wouldn't see that's good, rather than a Planet of the Apes crap fest with two guys dressed up as apes coming down to the ring.
That is a good point. You really, I guess we can say that for this entire panel. I don't know about you, Brian, but we're not trying to say that we should dwell completely on the past and just, 2 hours of Raw means 2 hours of 1985 footage. No, that's not what we're saying.
That would be wonderful.
We're saying that to complement your current product, you need to reflect on the past and show things like Magnum TA, like Ricky Steamboat, and in turn, that makes the titles that guys like Edge and Christian carrying around seem important.
Yeah,
that's the point.
This is really stretching it, and this has. I don't even want anybody home to even think that I even think that the importance of these two things I'm about to compare are even close to each other. But it's like, when you think about like the United States history, and they show you, it's like all the stuff we've been watching the last 2 months. And you see all this footage of like World War II and things like that, and all the things that happened in the past that got the United States to the point that it is right now. It's like, it would be like if the news anchors would sit down and say, screw it, none of the kids learn about Vietnam and World War II or anything, so. And then the whole idea of what the whole country is about is lost, because it's like, well, it's a country, but what happened in the past? How did we get to this point? And I know the WWF in the United States, the importance is not even close. But it's the same thing. The WCW title is there for a reason, and it is what it is for a reason. And same thing with the WWF title. That is as important as it is for a reason. You have to get people to understand that who just started watching the show, and they're not going to turn off your program if you show a clip of Andre the Giant or of Hulk Hogan or of Randy Savage. We're not asking for 5 minutes, we're saying 30 seconds. Show Hogan slamming Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3 and pinning him with a leg drop. What's that, 30 seconds? It's historic. It's stuff that made the WWF what it is today, and to forget about it and to pretend like it never happened is like, well, then what's the whole point of even watching the WWF today?
Well, to further draw on that point, your casual fan who just happens to see The Rock with that belt around his waist, the casual fan, I'm talking maybe 2-3 weeks fan, the casual fan sees that belt, and where did he get it from? Double Dare. I mean, that belt has so much history. There was a belt like that when Heenan and Monsoon were on many moons ago on Double Dare. That's why I bring it up. But that belt, believe it or not, does have a lot of history. I wrote on the website. It has the name WCW. It's more decorated than the WWF. It's been around longer, better champions. I mean, not that Hogan was a bad champion by any means, but the fact is, the old NWA and WCW is better throughout its whole course. WWF is obviously bigger. NWA has more history to it.
Exactly.
The belt that The Rock's carrying right now, if you just tuned in to watch wrestling because it's something new, your girlfriend told you to watch it, whatever, you think that belt is nothing more than a belt with the Rock's name on it. And the thing is, many guys have held that belt that actually give a damn and are a damn. The pesky guys like Ric Flair, Harley Race.
Yeah, they're okay.
Yeah, Terry Funk held it. There's just little guys. They don't really. They're minuscule.
And it's the same thing about forgetting that old history. Then it's the same thing. Why should people watch today? Because if today is supposed to be so important, then in 2 years from now, is it going to be forgotten about? Then don't watch it because it's not important.
Let's live for the now, as Garth would say. Apparently, it's the foremost idea in all WWF writers, McMahon, whatever the hell.
But I think it goes back, and as important as the WCW title is, it really hasn't been in the last few years that WCW was owned by Time Warner, because you had people like David Arquette win it, and
right.
Vince Russo, when he has control of certain things, there's a lot of things that he does well, and there's other stuff that he just doesn't do very well, and that was a perfect example of that. But when Vince bought WCW, you really thought, at least I did anyway, that he was going to try to take this company and make it profitable again, make it seem important again. And what he did was, he bought this company, buried it, lived out a fantasy on TV of burying his competition, when in actuality, you're burying your own product.
Exactly.
He doesn't see. People don't understand that yet. I guess they're in charge of the WWF. That WCW is your product now.
Yeah.
It's not some Southern wrestling organization that you're trying to beat. You own it, and I don't think Vince and anybody else quite understands that yet, because that's why the invasion, failed the way it did. Because they're WCW and I own them, but I'm going to show you that we were better from the beginning. That's the way they think.
Even though they didn't have any of the top stars, and even though
you could have taken a Lance Storm and a Mike Awesome instead of saying he hurts people. Has he even wrestled to even hurt anybody?
He hurt himself. I mean, hell.
Yeah, it's silly. It's just from April until now, it's just been plain silly.
If the current mindset in whoever's writing WWF TV, or I'm going to call it crap for right now, is fans don't have a history, they don't understand legacy and stuff, they don't understand the past. Here's the thing: WCW fans, NWA fans, probably are the most intelligent fans back when it was around. I'm not counting ECW for all you. Don't send us any email. Here's the thing: if WWF fans and WCW fans, which they have brought over, remember WWF, if you bought WCW, you got their fans. Well, they probably all turned off now after they saw the crap you've done with their product. If they don't have any sense of history, then why was it when Ric Flair or Arn Anderson always walked down that aisle on Nitro, they held up 4 fingers?
Exactly.
They don't understand. They're holding up 4 fingers for a different reason. They have history. They know it. They want to see more of it. They don't want to see more of it. They want to be reminded of it and see today's current product reflect on that history. Not this. Never mind.
Well, it's
Before I say something I'm going to regret and it's going to have to be edited out anyway.
Well, I guess since we are black and white, and black and white is historical, by the way. Just to talk about just one more thing about the WCW title, which was the NWA title. For those of you who don't understand how great this belt was, especially in the 1980s when Ric Flair was just the man. 1987, the Great American Bash, where they did the traveling shows, where it was like a 20-day thing, where in every city Every night was in a different city, and Ric Flair defended that NWA title every single night, like 17 nights in a row. He would defend that title, and when he lost the belt to Dusty Rhodes, it seemed like it was such a huge deal because he had like been on this streak, and so it was like those 2 weeks before the time he lost and the time he won it back was just amazing, and it's just totally lost on today's fans, unfortunately. But we're going to come back and we're going to talk, like we promised at the beginning of the show, how the WWF is going to become more like the NFL. We'll be back right after this.
And right here, for all you fans that care, I have Rennie Detour's address, which I'm willing to part with for $25. So all you
That's
fans
all that
out
it's
there,
worth to you.
all you would-be stalkers, please send payment in. I take money orders, whatever. But no, actually,
just
this is
the would-be stalkers, not the ones that already are stalkers.
Well, you don't
now.
want somebody that's a sicko. Anyway, why don't you fire away those answers from last week?
Okay, last week's questions. Number one, who took Jerry Lawler's place at the 1993 Survivor Series? It was Shawn Michaels in his 3 nights. It was great stuff. Who were the final 2 teams in the WrestleMania 14 Tag Team Battle Royal? LOD 2000 and the New Midnight Express. Yes, I'm trying to forget them as well. Name at least 5 wrestlers who competed in the 1993 Royal Rumble. Any 5 would have done. He had some of the names he had were Ric Flair, Skinner, Jerry Lawler, Virgil. Question number 4, etc. There were 30. Question number 4, name 4 people Ric Flair defeated for the world title. Again, another question. The guys had 17 world titles, Sting, Vader, Steamboat, Savage. This week's winner, John, and excuse me for mispronouncing your last name if I do, Christoflik from Pittsburgh. So congratulations, and Brian will tell you what you won.
Well, John, what you win is, from Original Pizza Works in Javosburg, you win 1 large pie with 1 topping, an order of chicken wings, and a 2-liter bottle of carbonated beverage. They'll even let you pick which kind of beverage you get.
Brian, it doesn't have the oomph it usually has. Can you just say that again? Well, never mind. We're running
I'm
short
just,
on time.
I mean, it's exciting. It's good pizza.
Hank Hudson of PWR.
Well, the 93 Rumble participants all took it out of Brian. But this week's question, kids. This week's question, kids. Mick Foley's first TV match with the WWF as Mick Foley when he wrestled under his real name. Whom was it against? And for a little bonus, Foley banged his head, so I don't know if he banged his head in all his matches. So if that helps you at all, great. If it doesn't, oh well. Send that. I'll answer all the 3 on the website. This one, obviously. ProWrestlingReview.com. ProWrestlingReview at Lycos.com.
Yes.
I don't even know our own our own emailing address, but answer those 3. The 4th. Good luck. And I give you the answer right now, and I will as we fade to black here, as long as the producer does it real fast. I tell you what, for 5-4, Mr. Dickinson's really a pain in the.
Yeah, he is.
Anyway, answer those questions.
Henry continues here. I'm going to make a personal plea. We had an email on our webpage asking for us to mail them some of our props. So I'm going to do the same. I need a PlayStation 2. So if somebody would like to mail me one, you can send it to me, care at the Daily News.
Actually, is this my gift back here? Because I can get it with...
See, the WWF doesn't actually send us these things. We actually have to go buy them ourselves. So if you send us a check for $20, we'll send you any of the props on our desk. But sorry about that.
What's the going rate for Jim?
Oh, I didn't even think of that. I don't know. I'll have to ask him.
Mine's like up to $7, so that's all I care
I
about.
think Jim maybe like 3 1/4.
Oh,
like
man.
that. Like gas prices in Chicago or something, 3,
Yeah.
But before we get started on the whole draft dilemma, I wanted to bring up a point. You brought up Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair. One of the last matches in the WWF that actually meant something, that was a world title match. You have to go all the way back. I know it's so long ago. WrestleMania 14 in 1998 when Steve Austin beat Shawn Michaels. That was just a classic WWF title match in the sense that they took somebody, Shawn Michaels, a guy in his promos who said, I'm not willing to give up my #1 spot. I don't get beaten by anybody. And then you had someone, Steve Austin, who said, I've been through 8 years of crap with WCW, ECW to a certain extent, and now with the WWF. I'm going to win this title no matter whether you like it or not. That was just a classic world title match, a classic way to build it up. And the last WWF title match that meant something in the sense that it really felt like it was a changing of the guard, where Steve Austin took that company and made it the rating success that it was. Unfortunately, with Shawn Michaels' injury and not being able to wrestle again after that. But and that's not to say that like a Triple H Rock match, like an Iron Man match, isn't a good match. But this one was built up the way title matches should be built up. So just to
Around the title.
I agree.
Just to draw on a point that you made about Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair. That was if you want to watch a title match that meant something with the WWF, watch that.
Very good point, but the fans don't remember WrestleMania 14, right?
Yeah, I know. 3 years is a long time, but
exactly.
I don't remember last week.
For different reasons, though. But you could tell me who Magnum TA beat for his first TV title.
Selective memory. Well, we mentioned about how the WWF is going to become more like the NFL, and we're going to get into some of that right now. Every Monday night, every match is going to be a blowout, and you're going to want to turn off the television. By
No fair catches.
Yeah. What it looks like the WWF is going to do is what we've been talking about on this show for 6 months. They're finally going to split up the company into 2 different arms.
However,
yeah, but we're not going to have WWF and WCW. No, that would be too easy.
We're going to WWF.
Yeah, that's right. And they're going to have rounds, and Chris Adams is going to come back from the grave. It's going to be great.
Oh, jeez.
What we're going to have is the whole company's still going to be the WWF, but we're going to have 2 separate portions of the WWF, almost like we have the AFC and the NFC.
Huh?
Yeah. One of the companies is going to run a show on Raw. The other company is going to run a show on SmackDown. They're going to be 2 completely different companies. You'll never see, like, say, Austin is in WWF and Rock is in, whatever, WWF 2.
Yeah.
You'll never
WWF.
You'll never see Austin on SmackDown. You'll never see Rock on Raw. It'll be 2 separate, in and of themselves, companies, even though they'll be the same company.
A likely story.
Yeah. I guess it'd be more like Major League Baseball, actually, is that, the American League and 2 interleague play, the American League and the National League never played each other. They had games on the same days. They were part of the same organization, but they didn't interact with each other until the World Series. It's going to sort of be like that. And I guess starting January 7th from the Madison Square Garden Raw, it'll begin with, Rennie, let the excited viewers at home know how this is going to happen, because I'm too excited to talk about this.
Well, I was going to say with a live broadcast of Excess, but who gets that show? That's what I want to know. That is the question that on everyone's mind. Who gets to have Excess? But
yeah,
why don't you tell them, since I.
Okay, you're just too excited.
Yeah.
I don't think he knows.
I don't.
It's going to be with a draft. That's right.
Woo, it's code.
It looks like, I'm just guessing here because, I don't know. I'm guessing Vince McMahon and Ric Flair are going to be the 2 owners, and they're going to.
Hell, you say?
Yeah, they're going to pick wrestlers that they want from their, to represent their companies, and they'll just split the promotions in 2. Okay, good night. I'm leaving. That's it. Show's over.
Here's my only
Where's
problem
the
with
drum
that.
roll? I missed my cue.
Right.
Here's my only problem with that, and I have
The
several.
only problem with that.
I have several on this issue. When you have both companies, when you have the World Wrestling Federation, apparently the World Wildlife Fund, because they're not changing the name of it. When you have these 2 companies, why run an invasion angle for 4 months only to, well, you guys are out of a job, but we're going to give you another chance anyway. We're going to put you in a draft. Why not start with a draft, then work towards an invasion off and on? Didn't they do this ass backwards? Didn't they do a lot of things ass
or as
backwards?
we like to say, back ass word.
Well, whatever you want to call it. But the thing is, if you would have came in when he acquired WCW, put all the guys in a draft, you don't have any of those matchups yet. You could have it at different pay-per-views, and we talked during break about just having on, say, a WWF pay-per-view, whether you have the World Wildlife Fund, Steve Austin against the World Wildlife Fund's Kurt Angle, if those 2 are in that company. But you have those guys wrestle those guys only, as you brought up earlier.
Here's the point that I'm going to make right now, as opposed to the one I made 5 minutes ago.
Yes.
When they bought WCW, and we will keep harping on this April date, this magical day in April when the wrestling was supposed to just explode.
I think it was in
and
March,
sucked.
actually.
Oh yeah, March. No, was it?
Just trying to screw with you. I don't know.
I have people with cue cards that screw with me. Anyway, when they bought WCW in April or March, it could have been one of those.
I'm ruining it. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I can regroup. When they bought WCW in March, April, or June, or July, or any other month that starts with, never mind. What they should have done, if they weren't ready to start an invasion, they should have just waited until guys like Kevin Nash, and I know this is a stretch for some people, or Scott Hall, or Ric Flair, or Scott Steiner became available. What they did was they took Booker T, Diamond Dallas Page, and some of their WWF guys and said, well, this is WCW, take it or leave it. Mm-hmm. That was the problem. I don't understand, as far as this draft is concerned, okay, WWF versus WWF. That was the problem that they got themselves into with the invasion, was the fact that, well, WCW doesn't have any big stars, so we'll take Steve Austin, our WWF guy, and I don't care how many times he wears WCW shirts, he's going to be a WWF guy, and let's put him in WCW. That doesn't work. WCW represents other wrestlers that you didn't normally see on WWF TV. Not Steve Austin, not Kurt Angle, just acting like WCW wrestlers. That's not what we wanted. So
yeah, right, but that's what we got.
Maybe when you buy WCW, you hold everything off, make people wait for it.
Yeah.
They rushed into it.
No, people will forget the attention span of gnats, though. You have to throw crap out there immediately upon buying it.
The point is, you got to think about it before you do it.
I agree with you. I was being facetious.
Well, another thing too, and I guess we'll get into this a little bit more in the next segment since we're already black and white, is I don't think the fans at home are going to get what this is about. I think this is going to this is seriously going to confuse people. And
It confuses us.
yeah, we're going to come back next segment because we're going to tell you about how this concept is also going to make you buy more every month, which is kind of the point. So we'll be back right after this. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I got mine.
They'll fall out of every Beckett baseball card, football card guy I ever buy. But
I voted for Kevin Elster at third base. Funny, even as a shortstop.
Somebody clean up his
did you
damn
write,
confetti.
did you write him in?
Yeah.
But one of the points that we left you with was how this new draft, if it does go through, will make you spend more money. And I guess the plan is to have 2 pay-per-views a month now, as if the one that you weren't buying wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. It
Well,
just
yeah.
seems like overkill when you don't bring any new guys in. It's like, well, I guess Crash Hall is going to be main eventing pay-per-view B
Yeah.
or Vengeance 2.
Well, you know what? I mean, there could be good and bad to this in a way. I mean, it's bad that you're going to have to buy 2 pay-per-views a month, but if they're going to do that, I would. If I'm the WWF, I slash the price of these shows. But I guess it's possible if you do have these 2 separate companies, and you're only going to have like Austin one night a week and Rock one night a week, that this does provide more opportunity for guys like Edge and Christian, and even guys like even way down the card.
I mean,
Like,
the Undertaker's not going to wrestle all the matches on the pay-per-view.
oh my God. Even guys like.
Jim has arrived.
Yeah. Even guys like Humor Me Here, Chuck Palumbo and Hugh Morris, guys who aren't doing a damn thing right now, it still gives them an opportunity to get on television and to do something that they weren't doing before. So that's good in a way. But this is an idea I proposed, and this is part Jim's idea and part my idea and part our idea. Jim came up with this idea, and I say this to him because he's still at that Mike Patton show, of having a whoever wins this unified title, having them be the WWF champion of both little wings. And they could be a traveling champion who could fight on both Raw. Well, no, they wouldn't fight on Raw and SmackDown because the whole idea of this world title is put it up on pay-per-view and that's it. Make this world title be something that one guy a month gets a shot at and that's it. Make your Intercontinental title be your WWF title and make your U.S. title be your WCW title so that it's not the world champion, but it's the most important belt that anybody's got a shot at every Monday or every Thursday so that those belts become more important and the WWF title becomes like a big deal again. They'll never do it.
Well, yeah, the point is not that, I mean, that's a really good idea, but the point of that is they always go back to the ratings, and that's what wrestling's about today, apparently, are ratings, Raw ratings, SmackDown ratings, Excess dropping ratings.
Right.
The thing of it, yeah, I had to get that dig in on Excess. I hate that show. The thing is, will the WWF be willing to sacrifice its ratings for title credibility? That's the question they have to answer within themselves.
Yeah.
Because that's something that they've never been able to do. It's always, well, we got to give them a world title match. Not that Steve Austin wrestles on TV anymore.
Yeah.
Let's not confuse people
Sure.
out there.
But see, the thing is, okay, yeah, you're gonna get a little bit of a ratings drop at first because it's a new concept. But as this idea becomes more and more what is taking place, and the Intercontinental title becomes recognized again as being an important belt to hold, and the same with the U.S. title, it's going to be a big deal. And if you do have your world champion only showing up on one show, like let's say that Edge is going to be your number 1 contender, he's getting your title shot at that month's pay-per-view. Let's say he's a WWF member. Well, at the WWF pay-per-view that month, he fights Austin, so you'll know that Austin is going to show up on Raw that whole month. So you look for that. And maybe the following month, somebody like Humor Me Here, Mike Awesome is your number 1 contender, and he's in the WCW wing. Well, then Austin's going to show up. Yeah, I know that. But Austin's going to show up on SmackDown then, and you know that, and so you watch that, and you wait for him to show up to start his feud with Mike Awesome so that they can build to the next month's pay-per-view.
Brian, your idea, Rennie, your idea, this guy over here, his idea. I mean, the whole idea about running 2 separate shows where you give guys lower on the totem pole more time is a great idea. Unfortunately, WWF Mindset, which I have no idea what it's about because they don't know what it's about. The fact, ratings are dropping. Chris Jericho, we just moved him up to main eventer. Oh, demote him immediately, give the title back to The Rock. Ratings are going down, let's rapid fire title changes. Try to bump the ratings. you have to, I think you brought this up, you have to stick with an idea for more than 2 weeks.
You have to.
In order, hey, you're going to, as Patrick Swayze said in Roadhouse, it will get worse before it gets better. Now, he was talking about Terry Funk's acting career. I'd like to add. But it will get worse no matter any kind of new change. For the week, it may go up, it may go down. It will get worse before it gets better. And you just have to remember that.
Mm-hmm. Well, before we go to break, one of the problems that you notice in wrestling is the fact that, and WCW showed us this before they went out of business, is oftentimes their answer to a lot of problems is let's just quick patchwork.
Yeah.
Let's bring somebody in, or let's just stick with the guys who we know are going to draw. When a new idea is sometimes the best way to go. So we're going to come back, minus Jim this week, do the rants. Stay tuned.
And we'll let you go home.
Oh, yeah.
Going to break a few segments ago, then forgot to talk about it last segment, that I don't think people are going to understand the whole concept of WWF being two separate divisions. I think the reason that is because everything's going to be the WWF, and they may give it different names. I don't know what they'll call it, but you probably call it one Attitude and one Desire or something
Attitude.
like that. Yeah. But I don't think the whole concept is going to sink into people's minds because everybody they're going to be using is a WWF wrestler to begin with. It's just going to look like, this is and it's the case. It's going to look the same. Raw and SmackDown, although it's going to be different rosters, is going to look the same because all the wrestlers are the same guys that people have been watching for the last 3 years. So why should people buy 2 pay-per-views a month that are going to include guys that they used to be able to watch all together on one pay-per-view? It doesn't make any sense to do it this way. And I just don't think the idea is going to work. Because I think if they did the idea that we had of there being a traveling world champion and the Intercontinental U.S. titles being the 2 most important belts, I think eventually that concept would work. But I just don't think that's going to be the WWF's thinking. They just eliminated a whole mess of belts. Why would they bring more back? And there's not even any talk of what they're going to do with these championship belts. So I think you're just going to get into that position again where you're going to have belts that don't mean anything. You're going to have stories that don't seem to make any sense because different things are happening Monday than Thursday. I don't think the WWF writers are smart enough to put together 2 separate products and have them both make sense and not overlap and have people buy into both of them. I just don't think it's going to work, and I think 6 months from now we'll be talking about the same company again.
Well, that's kind of been the theme of this show, but despite what I said earlier, The Rock is not wrestling 4 times at Vengeance, thankfully. One of the title matches, though, is The Rock versus Chris Jericho, and this past Monday on Raw, both guys had a chance to verbally say what this match meant to them. So for all our fans, or some of our fans out there who need more help when we talk about things and need to be shown everything, we're going to do it like this. Participant number 1, The Rock. He came out on Raw and cut a promo towards Vince McMahon. That's right, not Chris Jericho, his opponent at the pay-per-view, but Vince McMahon. And guess what, kids? The great one ran out of cliches because he started talking about things like scrotums and cow testicles. That stuff's not funny, Rock. You need to go back to the Scorpion King said, find something else to talk about because your promo on Raw absolutely killed the pay-per-view and killed Chris Jericho. Speaking of which, and you knew I'd have a picture of the other guy with a little hole in his hand. Thanks
The Rock did that.
Yeah, the Rock picture attacked the Jericho picture, and Rock bought him through our table.
No sold every move.
Just ignore if you can see it, the dirt on Chris Jericho's chin, much the same way mine is, thanks to someone who wrote that. Chris Jericho came out on Raw, gave a great promo, established himself as a heel, talked to The Rock, said, this is what's going to happen at the match, this is why I'm better than you. Chris Jericho focused, seems like he really wants to succeed. The point of this is The Rock needs to start focusing on the guys he's wrestling against. He needs to stop worrying about Vince McMahon. We saw on SmackDown he came out and attacked Vince McMahon. Your match at Vengeance is against Chris Jericho, and until you start taking Jericho seriously, the fans won't either.
Well put with the visual displays, too. I wish I had some.
Well, you know what? My computer's not here, so the PowerPoint display was down. So that was going to be back on the wall.
Oh, we can only hope in the near future. Anyway, in this past month's edition of Raw magazine, which is the only magazine I'd like to add that treats Mike Awesome like a main eventer, even though the company that writes the magazine doesn't. There was an article in there about, I think they mentioned us by name I'd like to add. It was Pro Wrestling Review, Tom, my name, Rennie, Brian, and Jim. We don't understand and we cannot properly criticize the current direction of the WWF, the writing, because we have no idea how it goes down. It's like, I believe one of the excerpts, the gist of it was, it's like reading a book halfway through, putting it down and trying to, oh, this sucks because I didn't even finish it. Well, I'd like to point out one particular thing that we criticize the WWF. We may not know where it's going, where an angle is going, for one of 2 reasons. One, the writers have no idea where the hell it's going to end at. Or two, they don't end it altogether. I'd like to bring up the Miss Hancock pregnancy angle, but that was with another company. But I can't really do that. But you get the gist of it. The WWF, half the time, the writers don't know what they're writing about. They're writing to the casual fans. They're not writing to the fans that have stuck around for the better part of almost 20 years watching wrestling. The fans who deserve to see something they want to see, rather than people dressed up in Planet of the Apes outfits. But this article is just, it's absolutely ridiculous. We criticize and we say what's on our minds because we care. I know you people at home care. You'd like to see different things too, and none of which revolves around The Rock, by the way. I don't understand how this is almost the same way as saying you can't have movie critics, you can't have film critics, TV critics, clothing critics, any other critic for that matter, because they don't wrestle, they don't cook, they don't do this. The world would be a better place without critics. I agree, but the thing is, you have to have people out there saying good and positive and negative things about something to get a read on it. And the WWF TV writers are just, I don't know if they're dropping acid or what, but they really need to fire some of those and hire people that can't read. I don't know. The end.
Tom, 2 quick points. Number 1, not only did I say your name wrong, but you said your name wrong.
Brian, I never call myself by the right name.
And number 2, have the WWF writers in the last 6 months started a story and finished one?
No, absolutely not.
There you go. Well, if you want to read my column, and I guess why wouldn't you? You can pick it up on newsstands everywhere. It's in the Daily News. You can also read it on the internet, www.dailynewsmckeesworth.com. You can find me under the columnist section, and this week I talk about The Undertaker and how he may supersede Kurt Angle and Chris Jericho.
If you want to read my column, you can pick it up on the newsstands tomorrow, or you can read it on the web. It's www.triblive.com/sports. I talk a little bit more about this draft idea and what it means not to have the WCW name around.
And real quick, before I plug the website, ProWrestlingReview.com, which the producer, Mr. Dickinson, has put up right on the screen right now. And for you people that don't remember Saturday Night Live history, in typical Sinead O'Connor-esque fashion.
That's right.
There we go. And you people out there that don't know history, I forgive you. She ripped up a picture of the Pope. I ripped up a picture of The Rock, which, frankly, it needed ripped up from the beginning of the show. But the question
sued by the World Wildlife Federation. I just think of facts.
Yeah, we have that panda in the crate in the back room. I forgot. The question this week, once again, Mick Foley's first TV match as Mick Foley in the WWF. Whom was it against? He cracked his head open. Like I said, not really a hint. I tried to give you the answer. The producer cut me off, but answer the 3 on the website. This one, ProWrestlingReview.com. Mail. I never get the email address right, but you know what I'm trying to talk about. So answer that. Rip up a picture of The Rock at home. Everybody wave a T-shirt in the air, dance, kick and scream, whatever you want to do.
We can point out 2 other things too.
Oh yeah.
I hate PWR@cs.com. Only true hate mail. And next week, Heavy Metal T-shirt week. You must wear a Heavy Metal T-shirt at home watching the show.
I agree. Christmas show 3 weeks from today. So mark it down on your calendars. We will be here in, well, not drag. We will be here in proper attire for the Christmas show.
We will be handing out the PWR year-end awards, so keep voting on those on the website, www.prowrestlingreview.com.
And I just got a strange letter the other day from our Santa Claus from last year. He's demanding to return.
He doesn't have words with Jim again, or he doesn't want to have words with Jim again.
Oh my God.
Oh, well, I didn't even get to say goodbye. Yeah.